Alright,
No.
we should be live. Hey everybody, welcome to our 57th episode of Exploring the Libraries. That's a pretty big number.
Yep.
Bigger than 56.
That's what you think. Steven's not here to tell us if the sound's right.
Oh, snap. He's slipping.
Yeah, I know.
Gone rogue. check.
Look, Darren's in the chat, and he hasn't even said it, trying to usually beat Steve. Tisk.
Yeah.
No one's listening.
No one's listening. Yeah, they're in the chat. They're just not listening.
They'll just say hi.
They've all muted it. How's the sound, guys? Is our question. If you can hear us at all, maybe they can't hear us.
Oh, we don't have our restream open. No, not that I used it last time.
Adam says he can hear us.
Do you want
Hey.
that? Do you?
No, it's all good.
It's okay. Next time, remind me. I'll make sure.
I want all the sassy Jeff comments.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jeff says
okay.
sound is good on YouTube. Vince says Assad, your sound is slightly quieter than the rest.
Do you really need to hear me? Is this the thing? Like, do people care about the sound of my voice? Alright, so this should be an interesting episode. We have some topics, but literally all the topics, well, they're discussed in one way or another in yesterday's roundtable, which, well, I had a lot of fun in yesterday's roundtable, because it was the first time where it felt more like more planned and more prepared than any other roundtable. It's like, oh yeah, this felt like a more legitimate thing. So, but I don't know if you saw, Jeff put out a video, I think it was Jeff, and talking about the roundtable, and was like, yeah, it's really cool that we had the opportunity to do this. And I'm like, yes, people see the purpose of this. I'm not crazy.
Well, Jeff's in the chat. Jeff, did you put out a video?
He's all shy now. He's like, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't me.
It wasn't him.
Jeff, shy? Never.
All right, so we got a few topics to talk about. Some of them are just things that I came across in throughout the past week. So are we ready to just start jumping into them?
Sure. Let's dive in.
All right, so
Sure.
let's start off with Pressure Point and cards in organized play that aren't in J2. What is our perspective on this, and how much does it hold a player back? So, starting with Pressure Point, what are your sentiments? Is this card a necessary card to be meta relevant in this game?
Alex?
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 So let's be clear, Alex. You're the one who defined Pressure Point to be more meta relevant. Before you, people weren't playing Pressure Point that much. So this
It's
is
in every one of Alex's deck, and they're all in blue. I wonder why.
So for a goal of a deck, no. Why it is relevant is because the most relevant technique is bolt shot, and you can generally pressure point a bolt shot. But a good bolt shot player should not be in a pressure point range.
But if only there was some way to
bolt shot player, eh?
Oh, I do.
If only there was some way to move at swift speed
Yeah.
and place yourself in so the pressure point could still work before the bolt shot. That doesn't exist, so
So
we're good.
well.
does this mean every Axon deck needs to have, for every pressure point, 2 Chrono Walkers? That's just
Yeah, exactly.
like immediate balance.
Isn't
right
that
there.
what they do already? What it feels like. Yeah, well, I mean, some perspective. I mean, Sid won the championship without pressure point in his deck.
Yeah.
So,
I was looking
that's
at it. Of the top 8, 6 of them played Axon, and of those 6, I think only 3 of them ran Pressure Point in the in their main.
Yeah.
Yes. So Core would have ran it, because that goal was all about sort of trying to manipulate that control aspect, use Chrono Walker, try to get the Krog restrict, the pressure point just to shut down anything, right? Nubia, was Nubia running it?
I think
guessing
Nubia was running it.
One of the Nubias, yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
just
because you're
the,
so many
the
eight
Kuns
sheets.
were not running it. That's pretty much what I recall.
Yeah, well, they didn't.
Yeah.
They don't have any access to them because they've only been
Well, they
playing
do.
for like
They have
6
access
months.
to them.
6
But-
months.
What are you talking
Newbies.
about? Alderon made his deck the week before.
Right.
Dumbo.
That's right. That's
How many
that
decks-
that is the official statement. Alderon made his own deck. Yeah.
Oy.
For me, so my perspective when it comes to the 3Ts, and it really does come down to the smaller card pool. And as we get into Origins, as the card pool extends, it'll be very different. Because 3Ts are usually, what is the best of this worst case scenario? What is the
Right.
best of the bad cards? And which ones resonate with you? There are certain 3Ts that, like, I personally like Zyfing, for example. A lot of people don't run it. There are certain 3Ts that some players enjoy more. Alex, I know, was very high into Fire Cub. I ran Baboon Spider. It was, everyone had their own little like small twist on the 3Ts.
Yeah, and some of us are right and some of us are wrong, you know.
But there
It's
is
just-
no 3-chi 2-1 in Thymos, so you have to run
Yes.
Baboon Spider at that point, right?
Yes,
That is
Unless you're
correct.
using your
All
other
of
colors.
Deimos' partners, so Ajna and Vishud, both.
Yeah, they all
it.
have it.
So-
Yeah, so you could do that way. So, I mean, looking at pressure point, right?
Mhm.
Negate a technique for 5 energy. So you're paying a card from hand, and most likely 4 to 5 cards from the top of your deck to stop a single card from your
Mhm.
opponent, right?
Yeah.
So that itself is not, I mean, it's not a great trade-off. But as we found out, energy can be quite efficient if you're only looking at 6 to 7 rounds in a game.
Mhm.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I
The Nubia players run it because they need some form of energy in their deck, and it's really hard to put a lot of bolt shots and be Nubia. It can be done, but you run very, like your deck gets very small by the end. But they usually run a lot of angels, so you have to put more 3-chis in,
Mhm.
right? And unless you're in the camp of 12, 14 Cabusses is the way to go, or a more reasonable 2 to 4 Cabusses, depending on which camp you're in. You have to spread out your 3-chis. That's how I was always seen it. Like especially with Axon, because there's so many good 3-chis that are situational. You kind of want to mix them now with forethoughts, I think you can sort of decide which one you want in your main.
I would
Sorry.
I would agree that because of forethoughts, pressure point is more. I would say it's more meta relevant because you can put it in a forethoughts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is the
Or
problem.
you can run it in your main, expecting the bolt shot. You don't see the bolt shot, you take them out for shutdowns.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
etc. Yeah.
Etc. So something that came up, I don't know if one of you said it or someone else said it, but pressure point is more. Yeah, I think Alex, you were saying pressure point's more relevant than shutdown because of bolt shot, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is there situations where shutdown is like? I guess the biggest spell that you'd want to shut down is Meteorite, and that's one that
It's really hard
Landslide?
to do.
Close.
So every single main played spell is almost exclusively you can do from either at least 2 spaces away or even across the board with Meteorite.
Mhm.
So it's a lot harder to do a shutdown than it is a pressure point on spells. Of course, unless you have the Chrono Walker. as we always say.
Well, I think the Chrono Walker comes with the 3-chi. I think it always comes with the 3-chi, right? Because I mean, how many? I'm sure you've done it, right? Where you Chrono Walk, someone plays Landslide, going to wipe out either deal damage or exert you. You Chrono Walker up and you shut down.
Yeah.
You're paying roughly the same aura cost, but
Yes, yeah.
they're out 28 aura, not doing anything, and you get your turn,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I think shutdown. I think more just what's needed is time. I think with Origins, shutdown will increase in power, and we'll see pressure point downgrade as powerful spells as more powerful spells come out. Like the best thing to shut down is a Malfeasance, but people just don't play Malfeasance very much. That's the biggest thing.
well,
you
that's the
wanna
best
shut down.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're up close, right?
Yeah.
Both of them you have to be up close, right? So pressure point's not from far away.
Yeah.
And shutdowns, you're not from far away either, right? So you have to put yourself in potentially riskier situation.
The one thing to note about shutdown and pressure point more specifically, absolutely useless against any sub. Not going to help you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to bring up Vince's statement. To him, it's more that every card that's playable should be accessible. to all players rather than if a card is absolutely needed or not. And I don't think any of us disagree.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue I've had a bit of issue when people are like, oh, you need to add pressure point to Origins. It's like, no, Origins it's set, it's done. We're not gonna start picking cards out of Origins to put pressure point in. And then I go, it is accessible in the organized play kits, and people will go, well, I don't have an organized play around. And like, I get that, but what I'm actually saying is, with time, more and more pressure points will be going out and out and out and out over and over again. By the time we actually throw pressure point into, whether it goes into invasion or anything like that, a lot of these people might not need them anymore. It's going to be a long time till that pressure points gets put in the set, into a main set. Now, I may be pushing Sid to do something in between the main sets, but that's a different story altogether.
So I think I just because I knew the topic was coming up. So I have 8 beta pressure points, right? And now in the last 2 months of Patreon, I have 6 Patreon pressure points in 2 months versus 6 years or whatever, or 4 years.
6 years.
3 years. Can't do math. It wasn't like it was an uncommon, but didn't show up very often to begin with, right? So
yeah, uncommons you get 1 or 2 in a beta box. Maybe said you could pick. Is that true?
1 or 2 in a box. Yeah, I didn't open that much beta because.
So there are 4 uncommons of each affiliation, and then you got them in sequence. So if your first one was the 3 Bellum, the next one would be Bellum and then 2 Axon, 2 Axons, 1 Thymos, all Thymos, Chaos, and then 1 Chaos. So that's 5 packs. 6 packs, 6, 12. You should get 3 to 4 of each uncommon in a box.
Okay.
I just didn't open that much, but
yeah,
I only paid attention to tsunamis. I didn't pay attention to the other cards.
Well, Will, when you started in beta, but when you really got into the game, Welcome to JLR had already come out, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, and like I was saying, Alex was the one who made Pressure Point a lot more viable. It wasn't until closer to the 2019 championship that other people outside of the Dragon World community started playing with Pressure Point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I could.
Well, I think. Yeah, because I think there was the OTK had a couple in there, but that was just because they had to cram in everything at that 3 chi level. I think some people were running Infernal Lashback just because they needed 3 chis and they wanted their percentages to be in the right spot, right?
Yeah, and they just couldn't run that many Underworld knowledges. So, the other thing is when we looked at, you were mentioning like organized play kits, there'll be more of these promos out there. How do we have some communities that are running organized play regularly? Like, Will, you've participated in a few organized play events, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those pressure points were you able to acquire? Do you know?
From the OP, I only have the 1 because I have, I've only opened 1 so far, but I haven't participated in a lot. I was just able to, I think about maybe 4 or 5 events plus trading with other people and getting stuff. So because I have my full OP set, I just need but I don't have any extras of it because I haven't really been focusing on that.
So I think that's a big sign for us is that we need to be supporting and trying to encourage and help communities run organized play events. That's the big thing that just needs to happen more of, because like there's 20 different organized play promos and you get 4 per pack. So I mean, it is a decent amount, 5 events to get 1 pressure point. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, some of the other stuff in the organized play kits are pretty solid. Like you got Death's Companion in there.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what else is Reign of Arrows.
Vampire Kiss.
Augur Strict is in there.
Augur Strict. Yeah.
Oni.
What?
Yeah, Oni.
Who?
You only need 1 Oni.
It's very true. Just like mind reading, you only need 1.
Yeah.
So I think our big step needs to be not about can we between now and when invasions is before invasions gets kind of locked in, can we actually roll out enough organized play to make Pressure Point more accessible, Desk Companion more accessible? Oh, Ajna Tiger, that's a good one.
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of cards in that.
For the community, I think the bigger issue is the cards that aren't in the organized play. Those are the ones that I think are a bigger issue. I when they talk about non-accessible, that's why I just have the issue when they say Pressure Point. I'm like, there are pressure points still going out each week
into the pool.
Going out to the world.
Yeah, pressure points, and then on top of that, there's a decent amount that'll be continuing being pushed out through Patreon, right? So it's. But we do have to. I think that one thing that kind of came to light for us, especially more recently, was the realization of the separation between the out of play product or out of print product and the stuff that is still out there, and how there are some cards that we have to reassess. But I think that will come up more in the future.
But I think Origins will also bring out a whole bunch of 3-cheese, and I mean, at least without giving too much away, there's a lot of really strong ones that will just automatically get slotted in, and instead of now having to run sort of multiple Axon ones because there's not really a good Bellum one that fits your deck style, there's possibly going to be good Bellum ones that you're going to want to slot in, or good Thymos ones, or good Chaos, and Phage is another color, right? So we have the amount of 3-cheese to access that, like we say, have a maybe a limited play or it's a I
agree with what you're saying, Will. Because of how small the pool is right now, you're more likely to play more pressure points because you only have a few options.
Yeah.
The more 3-cheese of different variety is, now you have multiple options.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another big thing that a lot of people may not have realized, but last month's Patreon promo, which was the aquatic, can't remember its name, but the
Lutra,
2/1 in Axon, and its attack is a cast ability. So like that is a very
that's
valuable, relevant card.
I didn't think about that. Shutdown's gonna get a lot stronger.
So that one is gonna be a really decent 3-chi slot in for Axon, especially if you're not a summon heavy deck. This is gonna be a valuable one, because the reason why I run the Spider for Thymos is because it can hit flyers, and so in edge cases that's useful. But here you go, you got something that's hitting for 2. That's much more valuable. So all right, so the next topic that I wanted to talk about, I guess we've already touched upon this in a lot of ways. Reprint strategies. I wanted to talk about reprinting J2 Origins stuff in OP packs, anything that's been out of print. We mentioned this in the town hall, but the idea was mainly, as long as J2 is part of the, like, as long as we're in JLAR, we're going to keep trying to print J2 and any set moving forward.
And maybe J3 next time.
Is J3 different than J2, or is it just J2?
We're gonna fix our mistakes from J2. Pressure point will be in the set of J2, and that fixes everything.
This is not on the record.
Oh,
but
so you mentioned Alex. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you can go.
No, Alex had mentioned about things that weren't in OP and weren't in J2. Was there something that he had in mind that you?
Oh well,
you're grinning, so your big smile is up on your face. So
you know me, I'm terrible for making new meta relevant decks, and I have a new one.
Oh no!
Thought it was all J2, and then I found out the core card wasn't a J2 card.
Which card?
It's Pale Fox.
Pale Fox.
If you were here at New Year's Eve, the deck was conceived there when a Pale Fox was played, and I went, "Oh, are you necroliching Pale Foxes?" And then somebody went, and then I went, and they went, "No," and I'm like, "Wait, I've never seen somebody do that. Wait a second."
I think my original Necrolich deck was running Pale Foxes, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, so cards that I think are before J2, like the stuff that were in beta, Welcome to J, and Raise, if we ever find those to be meta relevant, useful in any way, I'd like to see, like, I think it's comfortable to say that we will see reprints of those.
Yeah,
For sure.
And it'll come down to, is this is it a necessary, like a hyper meta relevant a card, or is this a niche card? And if it's niche, I'm probably going to push more for OP, or if it's more meta relevant, trying to put it into an actual set.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big thing that we need to go on statement saying is that there's nothing out of limits for when it comes to reprint.
Yeah, we've never said that we're never going to reprint anything ever again.
Yeah.
I think it's one of these situations where a whole bunch of new people are coming into the game, realizing, oh, this has actually been out for 4 years, or 3.5 years, whatever. And then there's this whole like fear of missing out, right? Like where you've basically, what if I miss? Oh, I don't have this. I need to find this. And sometimes that's easier, but when, with Haunted Castle Gaming, it was such a slow sort of gradual progression, which you've talked about many times. Those boundless number of cards aren't really just floating out there waiting for someone to pick up. So
Jeff says, liars, there will now be a reprint of Hydroblast. That's not true. We did a Patreon promo of it. There was already a reprint of it.
Maybe it will show up again. Who knows?
But it'll get reprinted in set, but yet stay banned.
Jerry said it'd be cool when we do new sets and we do reprints that they'd have new art. Generally, that is the plan. Oh, in Origins, there's one card that doesn't get new art, and that's because it got added in near the end of the set being produced. Vampiric Kiss. That we love the Vampiric Kiss art. It was not originally in the set. There was another similar card in the set. So we just brought it in. That's the only one.
That art works though, because that character's
in the set. Yes,
based on the art.
Yeah.
So it's like
the art defined the champion. I kind of like Core, but if Essence Strain was good enough to be reprinted, I totally would have. That artwork is so pretty.
That being said, do we still have a promo of Essence Strain being printed with J22?
Yes.
I've
never talked about the anniversary bundle.
Because it's been lost.
Yeah, the lost anniversary bundle.
The lost anniversary bundle.
No, we will. I'll still find a way to do it. I just want to figure out how many I can make. That's been the big issue because we don't know how many will end up being made.
Now you can throw a pressure point in there. Very good.
So, yeah, what was I gonna say? Art being canon. This was actually something that we talked about before starting the stream. But we never told people that part of the reason why Pressure Point wasn't going to go into J2 was because the artwork for it wasn't canon. So then we cut it out of the list. And then we started making the OP packs. And we're like, oh, we want Pressure Point in this, but the artwork isn't canon. So then we made new artwork for it. And then after everything was like sent off to the printers, we're like, wait, we could have put Pressure Point into J2. We got the new artwork. Like, oh yeah, that's where that happens.
That's hindsight.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think there's also the terminology around out of print, saying the older sets were out of print, and not realizing that the reasons why they're out of print is because the old template looked bad, the old coloring and the font and all those things were just. So it's not the actual cards that are out of print. It's not the mechanics that we're never going to use again.
Yeah.
It's really just,
that printing.
That actual print. And I was talking to someone about this, and they're like, scarcity, all scarcity in TCGs is actually false. There's no real scarcity. Because if we wanted to reprint more beta, we could. And I had to explain to them, no, we literally cannot print more beta. Because the digital files are lost. I don't have them. Our manufacturers don't have them.
Oops.
And the machine that was used to cut that paper is gone. And the paper that we used, the company is no longer ordering that type. So there's literally no way for us to restock beta.
Right.
We could print beta, like something similar.
Beta 2.2.
But it would be immediately you could differentiate it from the original
right
print, where So that's actually a very important thing to note when it comes to, reprint and scarcity, right? There is actual scarcity at times where it's like, what we put out there in beta, that's it. We're not making more. I don't want to reuse that card stock, and that machine doesn't exist anymore.
2 questions from the chat. One was bundles? Question mark?
Question
Yes,
mark.
please.
You missed a question.
How come we don't have any bundles?
Bundles of what?
I assume when they're thinking bundles, they're thinking like the fat packs or
I
the
thought
Pokemon
because we
kits.
mentioned anniversary bundles.
Maybe they're just talking about the anniversary bundles, but I don't know. Vince, trying to tell us which bundles you're referring to. Jared said new art just keeps my collecting side happy. I also like to see what else Damian and the other artists can do. And then Ben Yent, I think the Alpha card frames and art are incredible. The printing was a little dark, but I love it. And I actually agree. The frame is beautiful, but the font size becomes smaller and smaller when you actually look at it. It's a really small canvas with words.
That was an issue when it came to Alpha. At that time, our template designer, was very focused on aesthetics and was looking at games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And being like, don't worry, you can drop the font size. That's fine. Just make the cards as aesthetically pleasing as possible. And I was like, no, this is wrong. And he's like, trust me. So there were a lot of cards like High Dualis. If we had printed that on the Alpha template, oh my goodness, that would have been really... It's hard enough to read on the J2 template. On the Alpha template, that would have been a nightmare. So yeah, a lot of those... a lot of the newer cards would not be able to be printed on the old Alpha.
You just have to pack in like a little paper magnifying glass in your token slot, and then that way you just can magnify the text.
Vince Tran is excited for the anniversary bundles.
Anniversary bundles. Let's hear more.
All right, so I wanted to reveal more about it when we actually have them. But I will say, like, that was the original intention for the 4-year coins, was for the anniversary bundles, but they weren't ready in time for the championship. So I was like, I have these coins, people are coming to the championship, I'm just going to give them out there. But I will get more coins together, I'll get bundles. I'm trying to figure out what our distribution process is going to be. But yeah, there'll be an opportunity for people to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of Haunted Castle Gaming in, a little bit delayed. But it's gonna be cool, and it's worth the wait. It'll be worth the wait.
3 people all agreed that they. So Jeff says retro frame promos using something similar to Alpha would be nice, but yes, as me and others edge out, larger fonts are much appreciated. Ben Trading Card said maybe print cards with the old card design and put it one of each future pack. I think one in each pack. I think is what they're saying.
An alternate frame, right?
Yeah, they just
alt frames.
So
holding cards like Transformers, TCGs. Now we're getting there.
You can take the card and then you fold it up, and then it becomes a swan.
I could try that.
Where's your water elementals?
No man's land swans.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with the idea of going back to older frames. So that it's a personal preference. I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll see in the future. Steven,
so they're asking more. They're asking more about like a promo version where it shows the ultimate frame, not like the main set stuff.
Yeah.
Thoughts there.
Okay, so this goes back to a video I watched from Extra Credits. If you haven't watched them, amazing YouTube channel, and covers a lot of really, really cool and interesting game design concepts. And one of the things they talk about is the tension between nostalgia of a game versus putting your best foot forward, right? As we grow and evolve as game designers, as a company, we always want to make the product the best it can be. So every decision we make on a design level, on a play testing level, all those things are about making the game as clean as possible. But as Alex can attest to, like, sometimes you just have that nostalgia of wanting to go back to beta, or doing a draft of beta, or just going back to alpha for some of the people who played back in those days. And for me, that cringes, because I'm like, J2 is much cleaner of a game. There's so many things that we've refined. So I want people to be playing with the newest stuff. But then people who play with the older stuff, there's that wanting of like, remember when the game was just this, and our meta was like giant scorpions. And so that tension that occurs between player nostalgia and game designer trying to design what they believe is best for the game. It's a difficult line to tread. So for me personally, I always like moving forward. I'm not a huge fan of
so there was a clarity from Jeff. He says not exactly like Alpha, but an Alpha-like frame that carries the same aesthetic theme, which is different.
Yeah, I think so. The original Alpha theme was more of a D&D or an RPG type of feel, with that kind of like sidebar of stats. Like old RPGs were kind of like that. I think of Final Fantasy that had like, here are your stats, here are your numbers, or like old Pokemon, right? That was the feeling we were trying to go for in those days. I don't know. I mean, if it makes sense to do, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm also like, I want to move forward as a game, as a company.
I'll be honest, I want to move forward to new frames too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want new frames.
Yeah.
When those Hydroblasts get reprinted, they'll be in the old frame Hydroblasts because they'll still be banned.
The flavor text on Hydroblast will just say this card is banned. That's it. All right. So, are we good to move to another topic?
Yeah.
Talking about moving forward, let's talk about set rotations. Oh, Will's face.
Okay.
All right. So
set rotation.
I do want to talk about this somewhat in the context of Genesis, but also put this in the context of set rotation as a whole. And so, especially, I know, Will, you and I have never had long, in-depth conversations. I know Alex and I, on our trip to Quebec last time, we chatted for like 3-4 hours about this. So I want to hear...
Exciting car ride you guys had.
Hey, we defined so much of the future of Genesis during that car ride. So, Will, I'd love to hear from your perspective as someone who plays a lot of TCGs. How do you feel about set rotation as a whole?
I mean, so I kind of want to see both sides. Like, I like the idea of having a new set of parameters to play within, a new set of ideologies or goals or whatever that aren't necessarily restrained or have to be restricted because of something that came before it from a different time. And I think that aspect brings new life and sort of a freshness to the game. However, and this may be something that we're either not ready to divulge yet, or maybe it hasn't been decided, but if we were to progress with that sort of a new set of, these cards are quote unquote legal for whatever we're calling it, do the old cards still have a purpose, or do they not, right? And then I definitely like it when there is a let's just call it what it is, a legacy type format, where basically you can play with all these cards regardless of what it is, and it just always gets stronger, or it just remains the same because the cards before were just the strongest cards, and then maybe nothing changes. I don't know. But the idea of having, in a perfect world, no Chrono Walker, no Tsunami, that would be a beautiful world to live in. I'd also have to give up Rook and have to give up my meteorites or whatever, but who knows? I don't know.
So something that came up really early for design for me was when we went. So Alex brought this up in Town Hall, perfectly so, about Alpha and Beta didn't have as rigid of a formula as we have now, and when we got to designing some of the newer cards, we were held back in some of our design space because of the old cards. Look at Ajna Tiger, for example. Ajna Tiger costs quite a bit, and that's because we had to work within the formula that what Blitz was going to be, what Quick Beckham was going to be, and then also be like, okay, where is Baruch in the equation? because when you convert Ajna Tigers to pure value points, which is what we equate abilities to, Ajna Tiger is like way up here, where Brook's way down here. And that's why we had to split the cost between aura and energy to make it, on at least on the aura side, reasonable. Otherwise, it would have been costing like 30 aura. It would have been ridiculous. So one of the things that I look at is the fact that there are a lot of older stuff that hold us back from, or at least when I was designing Welcome to Jalar and Raze, it held me back a lot. Being like, oh, I can't design a card the way I want to because of some other card. Articating Tarantula versus Giant Scorpion. Such a close cost. And Giant Scorpion was like, oh yeah, like for 2 more aura, you get 2 more spots. Like, why not? It's having some of those legacy cards makes us forever deal with the fact that we made mistakes in alpha and beta. And we always have to live with those mistakes. So for me, on that perspective, from a design perspective, set rotation feels really good.
Just to answer to some of the audience, I can talk about it. Yes, I agree. If you do a set rotation, you need to have an eternal format. This was a big part of the conversation in the car ride with Sid that I had.
Who was driving?
Bear was driving.
All right, so it was all Alex. He had flow charts, and he had all these, probably waving his hands like this.
Alex doesn't do flow charts, all right?
But yeah, so I've enjoyed set rotation for a long time when I played standard. Now that being said, I think set rotation is now seen in a more negative light because modern day Magic Standard, and I call it modern day, but that's now a different format. But is considered negative. It's not considered a good thing. It's never been. It's not been a good thing for a long time. So now, because of that, rotations are seen more negatively.
Now, there is a game I play called Eternal card game. It's a digital version. So digital meaning they have they can play with different things and different rules. But their rotation is usually consists of like 2 to 3 of the newest sets, and then they bring in 1 to 2 of the older sets into that mix. And so they basically, their rotations are sort of fluid and ever changing. And all of a sudden, the first set comes into this pool of brand new cards. How do they mix? How do you build decks? And then the next time it will rotate out and it'll be, the newest set here plus 2 of these older sets or whatever. Now, being digital, it's just literally just like a click of the button, and just switch it and change it. But it's an interesting idea as well for rotation, not necessarily being gone with the old, in with the new, but sort of a mixture of the two.
Yeah.
So what was the game of that called? What was the game called?
It's called Eternal.
Oh, it is called Eternal. Okay. Jeff made a joke, said ironic that a game called Eternal rotates.
Sometimes Jeff just needs to take his hands off the keyboard.
We love you, Jeff.
I don't know why, but for some reason,
whoa, don't put words in my mouth.
I think you're gonna say he needs to take his hand off the keyboard and start drawing you pictures.
I want to see that Alex artwork. It's next.
Yeah, I think there is some tact required when it comes to set rotation. And so Alex didn't quite finish the story, but it was actually a big reason why the conversation was so impactful for me, because of how long Alex had been on. I think at that point you had just joined the game design team, more or less, like maybe a month or 2 in. And we're talking about this, and this entire time you've been a very strong player. So for you, I'm sorry to speak on your behalf, but like my perception of it was that you're like, I have all these cards, I just don't want them to be useless when a rotation happens, right? And from coming completely from the software side, I'm like, I'm only focusing on the next step, right? Because when you go to like, you go to Windows 10, Windows 11, or you go to the newest version of Mac OS, you're on the newest version, right? The relevant features are carried over, but they may be polished up. Things are clean because our definition of what industry standard is, our definition of what is a good experience for the end user, that has changed year over year. That grows, and I think rotation handled that way is proper, but I think if it could be handled very well, it can make a good game last for a very long time in a very healthy way. So it needs to support both. I do agree. It needs to support some sort of legacy format, some sort of way for the cards to always have play value. And I also want to encourage players to make up their own formats, do their own thing, and enjoy Genesis their own way. Because I know my dad and I have gone back and forth about this, where he's like, you have to publish rules for 2v2. I'm like, I want people to make up their own rules for 2v2. Like, there's some parts of it, some formats that I think that the us at Haunted Castle Gaming should have more control over, especially if we're sanctioning them. Things like booster drafts or sealed. But other formats that we're not sanctioning, the most we should be doing is linking people to other people's websites where they defined their own formats. We shouldn't be saying, no, we're defining it.
I think Heads or Tails' last video was about alternate formats or things they've been thinking about or whatever.
Yeah,
it was kind of interesting to hear some of their perspectives on different things. And I know I've thought of different things, and I'm sure Alex has got lots of plans for us.
Yeah, so a lot of the chat is being about that. I think it's way too early to talk about rotate, and it is. We're just bringing it up because it was a question brought.
It's happening tomorrow.
Yeah, we're rotating out.
Origins is the new set.
No. Yes,
that got captured.
Some people, the question has come up to me sometimes, which is we should do a soft rotate where we should ban everything prior to J2 and just say J2 onwards is there, and just like anything that hasn't been reprinted is now banned for competitive play. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan of that.
But the most important comment we missed was Jeff Pasito saying, I'm having a hard time capturing the utter beauty of Alex. That's the problem.
I don't think that was real. I can't see the chat. I think you made that up.
Well, see, I'm like a creature. You know, like those creatures that walk by technology and it goes all staticky. That's me with art. When he tries to draw art, the art goes all staticky and it just ruins.
You can literally just capture the screen and trace you over, and just
wouldn't work.
Oh, I'm sure it could.
All right. So yeah, I think that's a good place to let that conversation rest when it comes to set rotation. For the general community, I just want you to know we are thinking about it. We have been thinking about it since day one, and we will continue to make sure that the process is refined before anything major happens. All right. So, my last topic for tonight is what are our plans after Kickstarter. So this is more of a wish list situation, and I have particular ideas of what I want to do, but I definitely want to hear from you two of like, what are some things that now that the Kickstarter is in its final 3 days, we need to be always looking forward the next 12 months, 2 years. What are things that you want to see kind of pushed forward in the community, and what is your wish list of exciting things?
I'm excited that I can put Sid back down in the basement and lock the door again. I don't need to bring him back out for the public eyes anymore. We're done with him. We don't need him.
I don't know how to respond to that. I wasn't prepared for that type of comment.
Wait, which Sid?
Yeah, there it is.
That's okay. I already put the other Sid in his place. Don't worry about that one.
The wicked Sid.
No, honestly, obviously, directly, I want to get that J2 reprint out. It's been taking too dang long.
J2 2.
The J2 out.
2 squared.
We need to get the 2-2s out.
Reprint.
We need to get the organized play rolling.
Yes.
We need to, move on and start getting stuff ready for. I was gonna say the circuits, but that's not
circuits.
Right. Is it called? Yeah, it is called the circuits. Yeah. I forgot.
Not the circus. The circuit.
Not the circuit. For the circus, we need to get the circus ready.
It might be some similarities.
I know how to juggle. Step 1 complete.
Just juggle some packs of alpha in front of us.
So, yeah, I
Tim,
think.
just quick question, Tim. You're late. We just chatted all about that. You're gonna have to go back and rewatch the YouTube video talking about the cards not printed in J2.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So the reprint definitely. Kickstarter, Origins, Invasions, like beyond set releases. I think organized play is my biggest project that I'm thinking about.
Do you just imply that Invasions is 2022 as well?
It is. Well, you already
It's
know that parts
groundbreaking.
of it is in Future League.
Well, I
Right?
got a handful
So
of cards.
design is happening, right? Like we
Yes,
are
that's true.
constantly moving forward. Because if Origins is getting ready to go to print, that means
Right.
design for
That's true.
Invasion is being pushed out.
Well, so Will, here's my secret. You know that pitch contest we did with the Kickstarter? I'm just taking all those pitches. That's Invasion.
That's Invasion. Literally an invasion.
I'm good at my
of
job,
the
Will.
community.
I know how to make sets.
So you're on the next
represents
set.
invasion of the community into
Yeah,
game design.
there we go.
Yeah,
That's the first rotation right there. Unbalanced community card.
Daniel says, when's the championship? It's always the same date. Assad will remember it. I won't.
It's November 19th and 20th.
There you go.
2022. It's on the website. It's already, we've already made it official. But
yeah, you'll have Origins before that. Way before that.
Yeah.
That was the next question.
So like my big thing that I want to look at is organized play for the LJSs, especially the ones that are backing us on the Kickstarter, and some of the other ones that have been very active, because like for the ones that are backing us on the Kickstarter, Alex, we've said that Origins is going to become tournament legal once it's delivered, right?
Once it's released, once it's delivered.
So once that Kickstarter Origins stuff gets released to the public, that's when Origins is now tournament legal. So all the stores that have bought Origins product, we want to make sure that by the time they get that, they're already set up and in the system to start running organized play as much as possible. So that's going to be an important move, getting the circuits ready. And then also, so something that's been on my mind, and no, Alex, we've been talking about it and we wanted to make it a little bit more official, but like getting organized play that is not just held by LGSs, but ones that are hosted by judges. Ran organized play events with, organized play packs and stuff like that, so the community can get those things more. That's definitely a big initiative, I think, for 2022. It's just the bigger focus on getting people to play the game, as it's always been. Is there anything that's on your mind, Will, as a wish list, as a community member, someone who doesn't have the inside?
The inside scoop. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is just to start, for at least from my perspective, to start playing with some new cards and seeing how those intermix and working on developing decks, and that turnaround between Origins release and then how many months we have till the championship, and building out competitive decks and sort of that quote unquote meta where it's all sort of very much more spread out, right? It was very centered around a local area where I could try to bounce a lot of ideas off of people. And now it's going to be, who knows what top decks are playing in US or in Europe or wherever, right? So hopefully, looking at Geo, some of the event organization that we have, and seeing how that system works as it starts getting up and running, and looking at that leaderboard, where are the people coming, who is running the most events and stuff like that. So definitely looking forward to the circuits, and just as sort of mentioned, like transitioning into more of a judge role versus and seeing how that plays out too, right? So
Jonathan says in the chat, 4 hours away from any organized play event. Not sure how to overcome that. Could use some advice. So Will, I think this is where you come in with the webcam. How's the webcam experience been so far?
So webcam works really well. The biggest hurdle is, if you don't have a webcam and you don't have a microphone, those are big hurdles. Obviously, but if you have some way of projecting through to Discord, it works out quite well, actually. And the next thing would be just to have either something that represents the permanent that your opponent's putting down, whether it be like a singleton opponent deck, which is sort of what Alan and I are sort of working with, sort of producing what are the most played permanents, so things on the board that move on the board. And then if you don't have that one right away, what could you do, right? And to represent that. And then both screens are up on your screen, and you just sort of mimic. You do have to use language like moving to the left, moving to the right, forward, back. You have to say that a little more, because sometimes depending on people's cameras, like when I tilt my camera down, like you can sort of, like there's my game mat right there, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes things are backwards on my screen compared to depending which way the camera is. But those are all little things.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, you move all the pieces on your side, the attacks go through, everyone double checks, and you're playing with actual cards with somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's really easy.
I mean, if we had that list of the most commonly played summons and alterations, then we could just make a PDF that download, print and play type of thing, where you can proxy all those cards, and then just have those ready.
I was gonna say, I remember when COVID just hit, I was watching some Magic YouTubers, and they just had dry erase sort of cards you could dry erase on.
Nice.
Yeah, the copy cards, whatever.
Yeah.
You just anything that just makes it so that there's something here, and you can move it around. It doesn't have to be.
Oh my goodness! Just grab a bunch of Aura cards and just put some Scotch tape on them.
There you go. No Man's Lands are perfect.
Yeah. The only use
we all
for
hate No Man's Land.
And I think there's some communities starting up TTS organized play. Louis from Kitchen Table is planning to start one, right?
Yeah. I need to work with him, but I know he's interested in doing that. So I want to. Right now I know his Discord server is locked to Patreon members. So he's given us permission to try to find a judge that we can bring into his channel. But once we do, then we can start running organized play with his community. And at the end of the day, we're going to be, when it comes to organized play, we're going to be supporting anyone who's just getting people to play the game. Right now, at least, while we have the COVID restrictions, because as we've always said, the most important thing is playing the game. Right?
Yeah.
So, I think there are opportunities. It's just, it's taking a little bit slower than we had anticipated to get those opportunities launched. But I think the webcam would be really cool. I remember back in the day when I used to do webcam Origins, not like Genesis, but the game before it. I used to use my Warhammer models for my opponent's creatures.
Yeah, it really anything. You can even just use like the back of Genesis. Like there's a pile of commons that I don't need or whatever, right? Just grab some of those, throw it, like you say, throw some Scotch tape in the back or whatever, and just say this is a Brook, this is an Angel of Retribution, right? And it's just your opponent's on the other side. Like we're not going to be doing. I mean, honesty and respecting each other's play space, right? Like you can do that effectively. Just be like, okay, what health does it have? You're both double checking. Everything's on the screen. You can still see.
So it's not ideal, but I think part of it
works.
is this is a stopgap until people can start playing in person again at the LGSs. But this is something I also think needs to be continuously monitored, because there are a lot of people who are moving out of these urban areas to some rural areas, and it's like, well, there's no LGS nearby them at all. How are they still got to play? So having some awesome LGSs that are still hosting these things on webcam, TTS, post-pandemic, I think is still going to be something that we support, but we got to kind of watch how we're supporting it. Because
worst case scenario, we'll just do I'll place everything, I'll take a picture, I'll send it to you, you place your things on the picture, you send it back to me. All right, then I'll move the one thing over, send it back to you.
When you're saying
old school
sending things, are you actually thinking of like Polaroid photos sending through the mail?
No, digital at least.
Like 7 months.
This move.
Like when they used to play really old school chess, and they used to send letters to each other. And
there you go.
Says your single move. Oh my
I'll write down all my moves for all 7 turns, and then I'll put like those little gold tape over it, and you have to scratch it off, and then you can play.
Oh my goodness! Responding to the stack would be so annoying.
If you respond to the stack, here's this. Go to this arrow. Scratch this box. Choose your own adventure like that. Yeah.
All right, there's a
Just right up
couple
front.
comments before they all pass by.
Okay.
Oh no, it doesn't just passed. Jeff said he had the same dragon as you, Will. Then he said he was very sad because he realized you weren't reading the chat. So I'm gonna try to catch up.
That dragon?
I think so. I think that dragon.
Little game called Skyrim.
I think Masamune said his boxes are arriving. He's still planning to sell J2 playsets.
There you go.
They're moving quickly. Darren Bryan says Dragon World is hosting TTS tournaments. Oh, you can scroll up. Who's doing this?
I was.
Who's this magic person? All right, so I can read them now.
All right. I don't know how far back you are. I noticed
I was at
playmats are
Darren.
big.
That's where I was at.
Any plans to make smaller versions of playmats? The playmats are designed to be played with the card sleeved. Making smaller versions. I mean, the paper versions are smaller, right?
You could always draw like on the back. You could always have a grid that you could.
Yeah.
It's 5x6 grid.
I think we will have to learn to grow and adapt to how things are changing, because Genesis was designed to be played in person on a table, ideally at your LGS. So this is now adapting the product to a new market, and we're gonna have to learn and grow from that. So most card sleeves are dry erase friendly. I've never tried. Are they? Anyone try?
I would assume so.
It would make sense. Yeah. We already talked about the boxes arriving soon. Yeah, I was thinking when it comes to saying moving things left, right, forward, back, if you and your opponent can define what north, east, south, west is at the very beginning of the game, saying I'm starting on the east side, you're starting on the west side, and then, you're like, all right. But having if you can define that, I'm glad you got that. It took a little while.
It took me a little bit longer. I was answering a message, but then I was like, wait a second, is he snapping? Clued in.
Oh my goodness, my
clued
computer's
in.
lagging. How's the video? I think everything's kind of lagging on my side.
You just started lagging.
It's the epitome of going through a tunnel. I'm going through.
All right.
Well, Alex and I will continue.
So I think I'll be catching up soon when it comes to internet. How's the sound? Are you at least like? Does it
Sounds
sound
fine.
live?
Sounds fine.
Okay.
It's just the
video.
Just the.
All right. Well, we're
visuals.
almost at 8 o'clock anyways. We might as well just kind of wrap things up. I have one last announcement that I want to let the community know about. So starting this week, moving forward, we will be doing a deck tech of the week giveaway program. So how it's going to work, and more details will show up on the website later today. So get ready to see some announcements show up on Discord and other social media platforms. But we will have an outline of kind of an assignment of the week. You make decks based on a certain criteria, and you got to post it up onto social media. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, wherever you want. And then you submit to us the link of where you posted your deck tech. That'll go into a pool of decks that we'll review leading up to exploring the libraries. And then each of us will pick our favorite, and those 3 winning decks will get some sort of small prize. So we'll announce what the prize is, how to submit things, and where you can submit things. And that way, we'll see more decks come out there. It'll give you an opportunity to kind of design things. And then, it'll just be a fun way for the community to get involved in the conversation of deck design and practice your skills. And we'll go from there. I think that's all I really have to say about that. Is there any thoughts that you two have about it?
It's watching you slowly move.
Oh.
That's mesmerizing.
It's like Homer running on the
You just
treadmill.
have to. Internet's fun.
Yeah. All right.
No,
I have nothing to add.
All right. So let's just end the stream there. My computer's
End.
going like crazy. Oh, it's not just my internet, it's my entire computer. Interesting. Alright, gotta throw up this closing screen. Come on, I can do it. All right, that's it for this week.